So now that we got our girder done, now we get to put our sills on. The sill is the part of the your floor frame that kind of connects your whole entire house down. So remember, when we do a real foundation pour, we're going to have anchor bolts coming up every 4 feet. They are embedded in the concrete. We would then drill holes through our sills. We would put those sills over those bolts coming up, and then we would put a washer and a nut down to tighten up our sills. In our case, we just get to glue them down. But here's what we're going to do, is we are going to mark these to length, and we're going to run them around the whole outside of our house. Now, if you're doing this in class, or you're preparing to do this in class, you're going to use our scroll saws. But if you are doing this at home, we got a pair of these. These are called aviation snips, sometimes called tin snips, as they're used to cut thin aluminum metal. But with the 2x12s that we have in here, they work really well for this being so thin. Now, keep in mind, we are building in the 1/2 inch. Let me turn this around for you here. We're building in the 1/2 inch is equal to 1 foot scale. Okay. And in this direction, as you can see there, we got 12 inches. And as I turn this, we have 2 inches. Sorry if that's a little blurry, but we want a whole bunch of 2x12s because that's what we're going to be using for our floor here. So with this one, I have this marked out. I'm going to go ahead and cut this to length. Okay. Extra piece go off to the side. And then we want this, now this is important, needs to be flush along this outside wall, flush to this end, and flush to this end. So if you end up miscutting, you will want to cut another one and make it right. All right, so here's what we're going to do, is very quickly, because the hot glue heats up pretty quick, we're going to put a little bead of glue down. We're going to put this guy in place, and then we're going to keep some pressure on it for just a moment. So our first sill goes down, the board that contacts the foundation. Normally we'd put a little piece of foam called sill sealer in there in a real job. But this guy is pretty important. It'd also be a treated board as well, so it would kind of resist rot and bugs. So this guy's in place now. Now we can move along to our next wall. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to butt it up. This time I'm going to butt it up here. I'm going to flush with the outside wall, and we're going to mark this guy to length. And here I can give this guy a cut. Okay, and I'm ready to glue this one down. Extra glue stick. Okay, and this is why having this girder fit in that pocket so well is really important, because our sill is going to go right over that girder. All right, so there's our next one. If this guy's riding high, your sill is going to hump up, and that's going to throw your joist off down the road. Now, that guy's going to be too short. We'll use him later. So now I'm going to get this guy in. Again, we're butting up, marking it to length, and we can cut it, and we can glue it. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So again, everything we're doing is nice tight joints, flush with the outside, flush with the ends. Okay, it doesn't take long for that glue to dry. Now I get to use one of those extra pieces I had from earlier, one of my cutoffs, I should say. And my last one gets sandwiched in between. I'm going to mark that out. I'm going to make my cut right on that line. Okay. This one, because it does get sandwiched in, I'm going to make sure it fits. It does. We're ready to go. Okay. So I've been gluing on the foam. You can also glue right on your piece if you want. Okay. Fit that in there. Flush with the outside. Excellent. Okay. So now we have the sill down, and pretty soon we're going to be ready to put our joist down. But we do have one little issue here. So I'm going to put this up at an angle. If my joist is resting on top of here, maybe I'll do it right here, you guys can see I have a little gap back here on top of my girder. We don't want that. This girder is meant to support the weight of the joist, and so we're going to need it nice and flush. So on a real job site, they would already kind of account for that, but for what we're doing, we're going to put one extra piece going along the girder so everything is going to sit nice and flush. So we're going to mark that. We're going to cut it. Again, because it gets sandwiched in, we're going to do a little test fit. There we go. All right, now for this one, just some glue. Okay. And then you guys will get good with gluing as you go. You're going to see that in some spots, you want to use enough, but you don't want to use too much. So that's kind of the goal. And the more you use it, the better off you're going to be. Okay. All right. So right now we have our entire sill and girder all good to go.